Welcome to What is Next. What is Next is on GTV, the trusted, the authentic voice of Ghana. What is Next is a very educative program that is asking questions about contemporary challenges confronting us as a nation and looking for people with accumulated wisdom to help us find relevant answers to such questions that we are being confronted with as a people. Today, we want to pick a subject that affects all of us. In fact, in the Bible, it is said that, and this came from God, that the people of God must seek the peace, the prosperity of the city of Jerusalem, meaning that their prosperity is deeply connected to the peace and prosperity of the city of Jerusalem. And so, yes, individuals may have their interests, but there's a collective interest, there's a national interest that the people of God were advised to pursue. And on What is Next this evening, I have a man with many parts, a man who is one of the national thought leaders of our land at the moment, not only in matters of law, politics, and governance. He's also a religious person, and he's a man who has dedicated himself to the subject that we are discussing today. Viewers, I have with me the man I call Uncle Sam, lawyer Sam Okudzeto. Uncle Sam, welcome to What is Next.
Thank you.
And we are privileged to have you. You know you're a very busy person, and for you to accept to be here with us, we are very grateful.
Pleasure is mine, Thank you.
Uncle Sam, for some people like you, you're a former member of parliament in this country. You've been a founding member of a political party before, Gbedeme's time. You are a former president, Ghana Bar Association. At the moment, you are a member of Council of State. In the Christian organizations in this country, that's what some people may not know. You have played very key role in Christian organization in this country. Let me ask you and help my viewers to know a bit of you. Were you born with a gold spoon in your mouth?
Well, my father was a storekeeper. So that time people would say that they were the reasonably wealthy. But that is not a golden spoon, in the sense that we were made to go through the various rigors just like everyone else. Waking up in the morning, having to travel miles to the river to fetch water, to go to the school and clean the compound, fill the tank, close from school, go back again to go and fetch water to fill the tank. Now, you don't classify the person like that with a golden spoon. And if you misbehave, the court will cane you to put you in a particular order. And we did not regard ourselves to be any better than the rest of our schoolmates. We all have the same kind of feeling. So I think that I went through the mill, and that conditions my way of thinking and my way of behavior, and also my relationship with others. Because I often, it's like when someone is working in my house, it does not matter whether it's a mason, says carpenter, I am with him. And sometimes I say, hey, no, that what you're doing is not the right way. I think you can do it better this way. Oftentimes somebody walks to the house and he sees me working in the garden, then he says, okay, I'm looking for the master. So I don't say I'm the master. I want to ask him, what is your problem? Because maybe he does not expect a master to be working in the garden. So in short, I would just say that I just had an ordinary life, which I believe has conditioned my way of thinking, and also my relationship with others.
Yes, some of us have grown to know you only as lawyer Okudzeto and always fighting legal battles. But are there people, either in your professional work, in faith, that you will consider, even as at now, as people who have had influence, who are mentoring you people that in public you won't even acknowledge whether they are around or they have gone to glory?
Well, my political life, I would say that it was Kwabena who, from the beginning, I followed him. I think one of the little boasts I make was that in '69, I went around the whole of Ghana with him. In fact, at one time, it was even my open Mercedes-Benz that was being used, of which I am driving, which he sits on to address the crowds.
Meaning you drove the
I
woman?
drove myself,
Oh.
yes. So that was it. And then, of course, 10 years later on, in '79, this time it was William Oforiatta, who, coincidentally, I was in the Constituent Assembly and also in Parliament with William Oforiatta at the other side of the political divide. But William Oforiatta became my father. That I tell people that our houses were like 100 years away from one another. No day will pass if Pauli doesn't see me, he would not send for me. Or I myself will stop by to converse with him.
You said he was on the other side of the divide.
Yes, he was in Progress Party, I was in AL.
And you had that close.
But I'm just saying that we became so close that he was virtually my father. In fact, his only son, Bernard, I used to tell Bernard, I say, Bernard, in fact, there are only a few months difference between our ages. But I used to tell Bernard, I'm the firstborn, you are the other one, because I thought I was closer to him even than his own father, his own son. So these are people who had influenced my life. And those who know William Oforiatta know that, in fact, he took evangelism very seriously. That even to come back to politics, it was on persuasion that we actually we went and begged him and said the country is polarized into tribal divisions. I can't away. And we thought that he, coming from Acham, would be a unifying force to bring peace and unity into the country before he accepted it to become the leader of the Unity Party.
Uncle Sam, you've been in politics before. How do you see politics in Ghana then and now?
I think that there has been deterioration in the political atmosphere. I'll tell you what. Nkrumah brought about a one-party state. And that brought about his own downfall. In '66, he was overthrown. Now, the Akufo-Addo Commission that was asked to make a draft constitution for Ghana looked at that point and tried to forge a system whereby there should not be concentration of power in an individual any longer. Unfortunately, in '92, we brought that matter back again over concentration of power in one person.
92 means the current constitution.
The current constitution, yes. We have brought back that concentration of power. But I believe that this was done because the PNDC, the young men who were following President Rawlings, had their own self-interest. That when he has the power, he'll get the positions and jobs. And therefore, that was the reason why this concentration of power again appeared back in our party. And so you see that there is so much self-interest by people who are involved in politics. But as I've said somewhere else, this is where national interest is put aside. And every time it's a personal interest. So you see the parties are always bickering. And oftentimes I have to stop and ask them a simple question. I say, why can't you just put your party cloaks down and look at yourself as Ghanaians? Looking at Ghana as a country for all people, no matter what party or tribe they belong to, so that we can work together to build a solid country. As you said earlier on, the peace of Jerusalem. Peace of Jerusalem is peace for who? It's peace for all Jews. Indeed, you will notice that at the time of Solomon, they said gold was so plenteous that nobody wants a silver coin. that cedar wood was so plenty and nobody wants an acacia wood. That's the prosperity we are talking about. That when the nation prospers, everybody in the nation prospers in that context. But here, when somebody wants to do something, it's like, well, if he succeeds, it means that I will not come into power. And so let me pull him down. Instead of rather encouraging him. Because sometimes I said, the election process, you'll be amazed that it's not always that because you've got a good policy, you are going to win an election. People have different ideas as to why they win. So this is the danger that we have.
Because I'll come back to the national interest issue you've raised. But in terms of political ideology, in terms of political philosophy, what kind of political ideology at the moment drives politics in Ghana, especially under the Fourth Republic?
Well, I can tell you that there's a whole confusion of thought going on. The CPP used to call them socialists, and the Progress Party was supposed to be capitalist. Now, much of what became PNDC and then now NDC was a relic from the CPP. So people then assume that they are the Socialist Party and that the MPP is the Capitalist Party. But I think it's complete misconstruction of the concepts and the ideas. None of those parties have any such fixed ideology. Because a lot of the young men I see in the NDC, they want to be as rich as everybody else. And there are many I knew who had nothing. And now I've seen them riding in the most luxurious cars. They have houses which I can never afford to build. And so that person cannot convince me that he is a socialist. And then, of course, the MPP, you can take them as well also and say that, look, a lot of the policies that we, for example, you talk about free HSS. Now, is that capitalist or socialist? The idea is that equip every young person in Ghana with education. And therefore, that person will be in a position to do what? To contribute to nation building. That's the whole idea behind it. So I would say that the concept of that ideology, to me, does not exist.
And you call it a confusion.
It's a confusion of
But
thought.
we need a very clear political philosophy, political ideology as a nation.
Yes, well, you see, when you talk about political philosophy, political ideology, it also can be misleading. That's why I was saying that if you come and say we are capitalists, then that means that that's the ideology. Another one comes and he says we are socialists. It means that's the ideology. But it means that we have some yardstick to judge them by. But I'm saying that their conduct and behavior does not show any of those. And so we are coming back to the issue and say, okay, what do we want? I can give you an example. Lee Kuan Yew. Everybody calls him a dictator. And of course, the same thing is happening now with Rwanda. Now, at one time, I was on the board, the management board of the International Bar Association. So we had to have an annual conference. And we selected Singapore. And there was a whole rumpus. That dictator, you want to go there and give him support? Then some of us came and said, perhaps our going there might influence him to do maybe the reverse of what you are talking about. So eventually they agreed. We went to Singapore. And then we had an evening with Lee Kuan Yew. And the man came, white shirt, white trousers, calm, casual, and just sat down. And then we started asking him questions. And then this man explained to us that when he studied in England and came back, where you know that he was first-class student, and there was the Indians, the Malays, the Eurasians, the Chinese, always at each other's throat. And then he took a decision and said, what we require is education. So we have maths and English compulsory subjects. Whatever else you want to add If you want to add Hindi, if you want to add Chinese, that's your business. But these ones are compulsory. 1. 2. Any of the riots like that, you'll be jailed or caned. Then the Chinese, of course, they like to spit everywhere. If you spit, a cane, whipped. Chewing gum is not allowed. If they see you with the chewing gum, you'll be caned. Now, what was the result? Peace and tranquility. People pursued education. That country, the standard of living is higher than most countries in Europe today. And yet, Singapore has no natural resources.
Yeah.
It's only an island. Even water is imported from Malaysia because there's no river flowing through it. So if they can do it, that's what I'm talking about, the question of ideology. What was the ideology that propelled Singapore to where they are at the moment? It's just the desire to develop, the desire to have peace and tranquility, the desire to have educated people. They have the idea to have people who are comfortable. In fact, there was something else I forgot. He said he knew that everybody wants a home to live in. And so they ensured that everybody, even if it's one room, you have it. So everybody is housed. You don't have people in the street, sleeping in the street and being in need. That's the kind of country I think we also need in Ghana.
Viewers, this is What is Next? And I'm in conversation with lawyer Sam Okudzeto, who is former president, Ghana Bar Association, former member of parliament, and at the moment is a member of the Council of State. Uncle Sam, you raised the issue of national interest earlier on. Is there any relationship between nation building and national interest?
Definitely. Definitely, because I was telling you about Singapore as an example. Now, if you're building nation building, what does nation building require? Nation building requires that we as a people must have a decision as to where we want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, as the case may be. And then that becomes the pivot towards which we work. If we want people to be well educated, it means that we must what? Provide educational system that provide opportunity for anyone to develop his own talent at different levels. It doesn't mean that we should all have PhD.
Yeah.
But it means that we all have education. Yeah. Because sometimes I even have to argue and say that the PhD person is not necessarily the most educated person. I'm sorry that I'm saying this in front of you. He's not necessarily the most educated person. It means that he wrote some dissertation on some subject, but there are other subjects he has no knowledge about. And so this is my view. My view is to say that national development, national interest, they all go hand in hand. It's the same thing. To say that where do we want to go as a nation, as a people? If we all agree that this is where we want to be, then I mean, what are we doing? We are working towards it. We are providing education to that effect. We want to provide what? Industrial. Why does that help us? It means that instead of importing, we may not be in a position to export. It means we can provide a job opportunity for anyone who has the skills to use. Talent, I have maintained, I said, God did not bring anyone into this world without a talent. Everyone has a talent. I said, if you don't know the kind of talent God has given you, ask him. And he will direct you and say, I think you can do this. You are a religious man. You remember that when Moses was in the wilderness and God commanded him to build the tabernacle, he told him that Eliyahu, that he has given him talent in all manner of what? Craftsmanship, to carve wood, to weave different kinds of yarn, to make gold and other ornaments. Now, is that not talent?
It is.
This was not Moses' brother. In fact, he was from another tribe. And so this is just my idea, is to say that the mason has talent in brickwork. The carpenter has the art to craft and to create things. The what's his name? The driver knows how to do what? Manipulate the car. Maybe even if he's smarter still, he'll try to understand the engine. But to know that if something happened, this is what you must do and the rest of it. So the mechanic, everyone has talent. And the important thing is to give everybody an opportunity. And you know, in many of the countries you go to, you find out that those so-called artisans, they are wealthier than you, the educated ones. So you can see the wealth and talent, they all work together. So I think this is my view, that we have not been able to learn to utilize talent. So we look down, something happens, so, but it's only a driver. And I say, hey, hold it. You say it's only a driver. If that driver is not there, you are a busy man. You want to be driving to work and coming back all the time. So when you are at work and you want to send someone to pick this and do that for you, what will you do? You need someone to do that. Is that correct? That's a driver. So don't say me a driver. Say he is a driver. In fact, I even hate to people when I go there and they say the maid, and I say call the person has a name. They say he's a driver. I say no, he has a name. Call him, showing respect to him or her. That is very important.
And sometimes this impression that at the moment the various political parties are not mentoring the younger politicians in matters of national interest. The young politicians are coming into political space not on the ability to debate sound political ideas and values, but on the back of insults and attacks on opponents. You know, if you are in the community and you can attack and insult, you just come to the limelight. I don't know, is that a fair assessment? You understand politics and governance in this country.
I have watched it myself. I have lamented over it over the years, to say that I have been in politics at that time. We debate issues. Oftentimes I have to refer people to go back and read the Hansard, the parliamentary proceedings from 69 to 72. There you will see and take issues and you see the debate, the level of the intellectual argument that has put across there. You will not see anyone insulting anyone. So I think the political parties need to do some homework to even in the so-called primaries, you find out that it's just money. You know, if you can go and bribe and give money to people so that they can vote for you, it's no longer a question of an intellect. And I said, it's a wrong approach to the subject. I would rather that the even in the parliamentary debates, that will be the Center for Civic Education to provide a platform and let all the candidates line up and then let them speak one after the other and let the public put questions to them to respond, and then let the public make up their mind thereafter as to, among those who are doing the debate, which of them is fit. I think you've been watching the CNN on the American primaries going on right now. You see the way the debates were going on. At least they don't spend time. I know sometimes they undermine one or the other, but you can see that they are debating on issues. And so this is now lacking in our, but so the more you shout, the more noise you make, you are hailed. But it is not the intellect that is put into those kind of discourse that comes out. And it's not good for the country. It's not good for the country.
And it's like the media platforms are also fueling it, because now, in fact, Professor Kakari was with us, and he is saying that the way we are doing especially the talk shows, the morning shows, always you have it's MPP, NDC, and when they start, they are not debating the issues. You don't get objectivity. It's attack. You are a thief, and the other person will say you're also a thief. The two of us who thieves, and then they continue. And I don't know how media can also play a role in the matters of national interest with what you just said.
Well, you are saying now what role the media also can play. I would just say that they are the most important institution for the education of the public. I'll tell you what, when television was introduced in Ghana, it was in 1965. And it was meant for education. Mind you, this was the last days of Nkrumah. But in spite of that fact, yet you find out that they bring people with intellect and the rest to talk on the radio to teach people to absorb certain kind of knowledge and talent. And so the money show, instead of rather putting MPP and NDC, I would rather they had even gone to the university and pick, let's say, a professor in some subject and another one from another institution and put them together to debate national issues. That would be a better education than for providing a platform for parties to be, locking horns all the time. It's a wrong education to the public. So whatever they are doing there permeates the rest of society. It means that every time people are there, it's like, that's why you are MPP, that's why you are NDC. And I say, what does the party matter? Does anybody wear a clothes which is called MPP or NDC? No. I've seen you Christians and Muslim imams discussing issues without having a fight. I have had Muslim friends who, I can discuss the Bible with. One of them actually told me point blank and said that if you are an imam at a certain level and you have not read the Bible and understand it, then you cannot be a good imam. That's what he said. And I also tell people that I have read the Quran. And that if you are a Christian, don't just go and say Muslim, Islam, and you start attacking them. I say, you read the Quran. You see that a lot of things in the Quran actually are from the Bible. In fact, there's a portion of the Quran which says that if you want to understand this thing more, read the book. And I ask people, I say, do you know what the book is? That was reference to the Bible. So if they can converse, discuss, without these entrenched positions, why can we Ghanaians not sit down and discuss issue without putting party as being the party, being the whole thing? I think this is dangerous for the country.
And you call for a paradigm shift.
Yes, we need to change.
Uncle sir, will you look straight into this camera and talk to my viewers that the way we are doing this kind of public discourse, we need to revisit and maybe something different must be done?
Yeah. My caution in particular is to the media, is to say that they are part of the problem, because they take those entrenched positions that instead of you asking people questions on issues so that they can express their view, whatever they think can or cannot be done. That will be much better than this question about MPP has done this. This one say you are a thief, this one say you are also a thief. So if you are both thieves, then what use do we have for you? We don't need any of you. Because this country does not need thieves. We need people who can help to build Ghana and not those who. So that is not, to me, the approach. And I say Ghanaians have talent. I can tell you that. I said the amount of talent locked up in this country, and many are afraid even to speak because of this polarization, where they think that if I say this, they will say that I belong to because of that, they would rather keep quiet. And yet, the talent of those people can help nation building. So this is my plea.
And again, there's this notion out there that the various political parties, their preoccupation is winning votes, maintaining yourself in politics, in governance. And therefore, when it comes to national interest, it's like it can wait. Let's do things that will keep us in power. Let's do things that will get us the vote. Is there a fair assessment?
Well, there's an element of truth. I think there's an element of truth in it, because if you see the way even the attacks of some government policies, you can see that was the whole idea behind it. Because people will be asking the question, hey, but if you do this, what would the public, will you get vote? I remember the one example was this Galamsey, which have been going on for quite a while. And you will see that when they said, look, what they are doing, they are polluting all the water bodies. They are using cyanide. And these young men don't understand. So they go take their hand and wash the soil in water, and the cyanide touches their body. Now, that's poison. Those people in 2 or 3 years and they'll develop cancer and they'll be dead. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, the water that is polluted, the cyanide sinks into it. That may be dead for the next 20 years or more. This question about they say we are cleaning the river, I think they are not being realistic. I have had a little bit of study on the science of it and know. Now, the cyanide that goes into the soil, when you plant, anything you plant in that soil, if you eat it, the cyanide goes into your body. And here again, you can see that sooner or later you find a lot of mentally retarded children being born. This is the result of this. Now, that is one of the examples of the things that I'm talking about. Something like that, the party should come together as a nation and say, okay, this is a serious issue. Let us find a way. Some say, oh, but we have gold in it, so we must dig it out. I say, my friend, I can tell you that a lot of countries with gold in their soil, they are not digging for the gold because they know the environmental impact that is going to make. Because of that, they don't touch it. Countries have oil. They are not digging the oil because of the environmental impact that is going to create. So it is not just to say that, oh, God has given us gold, therefore go and dig it. No, the consequences of it. That is what it's all about. So I think there's a lot of rethink that this nation now requires for us as a people to put our party caps down, sit down in sober reflection, discuss issue. Those that we don't know, let's get the experts. And they are around. And these days I even say that if they are not around, you can import them. We are now in the world where experts are floating everywhere. You can import them to come and help us to come and understand the things that are important for our country's progress. It's a rich country, but the wealth is not being reflected in us because we are ruining everything that we are doing ourselves.
Viewers, this is what is next on GTV, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana. And I'm in conversation with lawyer Sam Okudzeto on the national interest. And we are happy you have tuned in to this program. And we still want to invite those of you who want to advertise your programs and your product on this program. You are welcome. Uncle Sam, now you come to our campuses and you have instances where students with very little, call it this interest, or they are dissatisfied with anything. And the very things that should help them to stay on campuses, you find the students destroying everything. And it suggests to you that either they don't understand or the program we are working them through, we have not considered it. Would you suggest that we consider the curriculum we are running in educational institution, especially secondary and tertiary, when it comes to this subject of national interest?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's very, very important because, as I said, if people cannot appreciate that which belongs to the nation, the state, which of course is also a benefit to you as an individual, then I don't know where we are going. I think earlier when I was conversing with you, I told about Israel, that the first Israeli ambassador to Ghana, I had an opportunity to converse with him. I think that must have been about 64, 65. And he was telling me that during the time of Palestine, and of course now they talk about Palestinians, people don't understand that the whole of that area used to be called Palestine. And that at that time, the Jews considered that if they can sabotage anything or even take something which belonged to the so-called occupying power, which that time was Britain, it was legitimate, it was justified. Now when Israel became a state, that mentality was still in the people. So they had to educate them to appreciate that, hey, we are no longer having an occupying power. The government is your government. The property that you are destroying belongs to all of us, including you. Whatever you want to steal belongs to everybody.
including you yourself also. And that changed the attitude of the Israelis. I think this is what I believe Ghana needs, to appreciate that as a student, the least thing what I notice is that they say Luta, and then they go on the rampage. I shrink because I said, how can students go and burn buses or cars that have been bought with taxpayers' money? Vandalize buildings which have been built for their own comfort. Something is wrong in their way of thinking. I was even surprised that the university and its board did not surcharge those students with the cost of replacement of those things. If that had been done, it would have taught them some sense. But all I heard is that all of a sudden there is quiet in the campus and everything was as if it was normal for them to continue to do it again. So my view is simple. I say we need to teach our young ones from kindergarten all the way up to appreciate that conduct and behavior is so important. I remember when we were in the secondary school, they used to teach what they call moral instructions. We learned that as a compulsory subject. It was not part of the examination subject, but we learned it. In fact, they taught us a lot of subjects which had nothing at all to do with our Cambridge school certificate. But our principal thought that it was important. And so if you study all those things and you begin to appreciate that conduct and behavior is important, respect for the elderly is very important. When we are growing up, if you misbehave outside, anyone, not even your father or your mother, they can beat you up. And when you go home and they ask you what happened, you say you were beaten, and you explain what had happened, your own parents will beat you because you had disgraced them by your conduct and your behavior. And so it's like you want to please not only your father and your mother, you also want to be the society in which you are living in. So conduct and behavior is very important. And I am amazed at this vandalism that continues now. Sometimes they watch television and they see countries where a lot of people go on demonstration. For example, you remember Paris, what went on, and they went and they broke shops and they destroyed them. And people think that those things are normal. There's nothing normal about that. It's abnormal. It's an abnormal behavior and conduct. You can show your resentment and protest in a different way altogether than destroying property which belongs to all of us.
Uncle Sam, what I'm hearing you is that we must integrate this issue of national interest
in educational system.
Will you again look straight into this camera? We may not know who is watching and talk to somebody.
All right.
On this issue you have raised.
Okay, I'm raising this, and I would like the headmasters, either in the primary schools, the secondary schools, the vice chancellors in the universities to hear this loud and clear, is to say that courtesy is important in life. What it belongs to the state belongs to everybody, and therefore you should teach the young ones that under your tutelage to understand and to respect both authority and power, and also the preservation and protection of public property. These are essential matters that we should be able to teach and inculcate into the young ones' minds so they grow up making that appreciation and that realization. It's very, very important, because I don't see how as a nation we can move forward if we continue the way we are behaving, where the small issue, when young ones disagree, then they go on the rampage. And it's taken as if it's normal. It's not normal. It's insanity. Insanity is not normal. Insanity is abnormal. And so we would need really to work at this one. It's so important. I'm making a plea to all of you that please, for God's sake, I don't care about your so-called diploma or certificate you get at the end of your education. It's irrelevant. These are subjects you must teach. These are values you must insist is inculcated into every one of your students. You know, today I was at a funeral, and for a lady who went to both Wegehe and also Fansipim. They did sixth form in Fansipim, and I saw all of them together. And I always admire this school grouping. There's pride in the institution they attended, because they should Google and go and see whether they've ever heard about Harvard. Harvard students going on rapid destroying property at Harvard. It's unheard of. Or Oxford or Cambridge. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. It will not happen, because those people are groomed to understand. Those are valued institutions which are there for posterity to educate people.
Viewers, this is What is Next? And I'm in conversation with Uncle Sam, lawyer Sam Okudzeto, and he is drawing attention seriously to the fact that we must integrate matters of national interest into our academic institutions. The next generation of ideas that we are building must come with this attention to things that build a nation, and they should not be so destructive. Some of the things that we are witnessing in our secondary schools, colleges, and some of our universities. Uncle Sam, is corruption a mark of lack of commitment to the national interest?
Well, that's a very funny question. Now, if you love your country, you should be content. There should be contentment. I think you are a religious man. There's contentment. Contentment. What does contentment mean? I should be satisfied with what God has given me, and not look at you and say, well, you have this, therefore I must also be there. And so, when you take advantage, you manipulate the system for your personal benefit, you are an enemy of society. You are an enemy of society. So, again, you remember I cited Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew, he says, my ministers, I realized that some of them could have been in business as CEO and so much. So I paid them what the CEO also earns. But woe unto you if I hear that you've taken something which you should not take. Because of that, there was a deputy minister who I think received a favor of a holiday somewhere. He was publicly disgraced and sacked.
For having a holiday?
Exactly, it's paid for by someone. He was sacked. And that kind of discipline is what this nation desires more than anything else. Because there is nepotism, there is favoritism. The public servant is sitting down, a work he should do for an hour, something he should do and give to you in an hour. He say, go and come. Go and come. Or he want to do something. Or someone say, what is a need for me? And so we go on. Many of them, you can see that they own houses, they own cars. Their salary could definitely not afford that. And nobody's asking them any question. Some of them assume office, and what they do is how they can manipulate the system so that they can make more money out of it. An investor he wants to invest money, they want to give me some shares, so they put the shares in somebody else's name, not in their own name. And they think it is normal. Also, it is not normal, it's abnormal. Those are evil. They are evil, and we should try and stand against it. If anyone does a corrupt act, his boss should sack him and make a public image of him, ridicule him, so that it serves as an example to other people. Because every day you open the paper, that's what you read. Either the previous government or the new government, people say this one, that one has done this, we cannot talk about it, and this one has done that. That is also not. So now that we produce a Whistleblowers Act, that's a beautiful institution that we can use, mechanism.
Not like what happened in America where they say you must produce the whistleblower. Our law protects the whistleblower. So if you see something which is going wrong, point it out. And let us live in a decorum. Be content with what you earn. If you think that what you're earning is not enough, resign and go and set up your own business, and then you can earn whatever you choose. But you were even talking about taxpayers, isn't it? If the taxpayers themselves are honest and they are doing their work well, a lot of these people we are talking about, they will smoke them out. I even remember pointing out to one minister before, Minister of Finance, struggling about balancing his budget, and I say, go around and see all these big mansions that are being built left and right, and then go to City Council, find out when the person commenced his building and when he completed it, and then send him a tax return for the millions that the building cost, and that will send shivers around. The people will now begin to say that you cannot hide your wealth.
You are a member of the Council of State. Does the advisory role of the Council of State go beyond the presidency?
Yes, I always try to point this out to people, that they read a portion of the Council of the Constitution that talks about President appointing a Council of State to advise and counsel the President. But then when you go further on, you see that that same Council of State was asked to advise Parliament, advise ministers, and other state institutions. So it's quite an enormous task. So it is not just the President. It includes all of them. And since I have been there for the past 3 years, we've been calling ministers, we've been calling MDs of institutions. Even Teshi Nungua, they were complaining about the desalinization plant and its effect upon them. And we called the Water and Sewage Committee, we called the minister, we call all of them to dialogue with them as to how we can find solutions to it. That's just an example. But we actually, if you see our report, you can see that we've been having interviews with so many institutions, including the Electoral Commission. We have interviewed with all of them.
Uncle Sam, your report, not many people will say it. From where I said, we hear Council of State when President is about to make appointment, and then you hear either the Council of State has advised or the President has referred this appointment to the Council of State. But do you have a program that, especially matters of national interest, that you are reaching out to people and you know, I want to know, because for me
this is a continuous process.
Okay.
You see, if you read the Constitution, you say that we should meet at least four times a year. If somebody says, so if they appoint you only meet 4 times a year, and I say, my friend, that's the minimum put down in the Constitution. We meet every month. We have plenary sessions at least twice a month. We have committee meetings 3 or 4 times in the month. So all the time we are meeting, and we are meeting institutions, we are meeting people who have made complaints to us individually or institutionally, and we call the institutions together and we dialogue with them to try and see how we can be able to find solutions. We are not dictators, but we have to dialogue. So this has been a continuous process, and it looks like the public doesn't seem to understand it, that it's a continuous. For example, this galamsey we're talking about, we've had several meetings with the ministers and all the institutions involved in the galamsey project. Indeed, this Friday we are having a meeting, another meeting again.
Friday means tomorrow?
This Friday, tomorrow we are having a meeting on the galamsey issue.
Seriously, maybe somebody must help us know what the Council of State is, especially in such things, because using myself as an example, I know that the Council of State is very strong when the President is making appointment.
No, the appointment of the appointment by the President was only because that was spelled out in black and white in the Constitution to say that certain appointments must have the advice of the Council of State. That is why that is publicized. The other ones is a general power given to the Council to meet with and advise on certain institutions. So we do that all the time. And actually, some of you are following the newspaper. Oftentimes, we actually even issue communiques where we say that so and so and so day we had a meeting with this group. You know, for example, the Electoral Commission. We actually had 2 different meetings with the Electoral Commission. One was just about maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, when this wrong post about the register came on. We came and they came and made a whole demonstration and showed us exactly the various things that they were doing. So it's a continuous process that every month we are meeting with one group or the other to advise and counsel on issues, not only on the appointments.
So at what point can an individual's interest, personal interest, become a national interest?
Well, it's always a difficult issue, but you see that if I or you or someone is so much interested in something that you feel that if it is done nationally, it could benefit more people, then you can see that there's a translation from personal to national. It is only when you see that the thing you are going to do will benefit you, but then you want others to support you so that they can benefit you, then that ceases to be national. And that's that distinction must be clearly drawn. Because there are some people who think that, well, if I can build a factory here, I can make money. Well, the question is good, but the factory you are building there, will it benefit the people within the community over there? Will the environment be safe and not damaged? That will affect the people over there. Then those things cease to be national interest. It means I'm only thinking about my money, the money that I can make. So I think there's a clear distinction that one must draw, and appreciate that it is what can benefit the nation as a whole, or at least the community. Then that ceases to be personal. It becomes a national interest. Yeah.
You are not only a politician, former member of parliament, former president Ghana Bar Association, at the moment Council of State member, but you're also a man of faith, and you have played very active role in so many Christian organizations in Ghana. Now, what roles can the churches, especially a faith-based organization, but maybe the churches that you are very close with, what role can we play when it comes to national interest? And I still have in mind the biblical instruction that we must seek the peace and prosperity of Jerusalem. For it is when the city, when Jerusalem prospers and have peace, that the individual members also have their prosperity and their peace.
Well, so for my charge again to the church is that in the old times we have only a few number of religious setups whereby there's a hierarchy that you climb up the ladder. Now everyone opens a church and everybody is running a church. Now, what are they teaching? And what I have noticed is that there is so much emphasis on the individual that is being preached, and it's worrying to me because you are to pray to God and asking for this so that He'll give it to you. And I say, hey, be careful. You are asking Him to ask God to give it to Him, but you are forgetting something. That is for selfish purpose. And I think it is in James who said that you pray you don't get because you ask for your own selfish purpose, which means that what is being taught about there was actually something that can prosper the whole community, society. And so the church has a very important role, because Ghanaians are very religious. Every Sunday, even school classrooms are being turned into churches, because there is a desire to know God, which means that we need to get the right message to the people to appreciate that we live in a community, and that the benefit, the prosperity of the community becomes the prosperity of every one of us. Whatever is good for the community becomes good for all of us. When you drink sachet water and you throw the bottle or the sachet away, then it goes to clog the drain. Now when it rains, what happens? The drain overflows, people's houses get flooded. Now, my own individual selfish behavior then affects everybody. But if we in the church are teaching people to say that certain kind of conduct and behavior is not in the interest of the nation, therefore avoid it. So if you drink water, what do? If you use a sachet, put it in the what? In the dustbin. And then when the public dustbin is provided, so that when you are walking and you are holding something, you can put inside it. People go and they remove the top. And then the household rubbish, they came and dump it inside those containers. I mean, I was shocked to walk around Accra. I've been walking all around, just looking for that. And I was shocked to see what was going on. That this public container which were provided by the city council to aid people when they are going around to put this, they vandalized it and put their top in it. So the churches have a duty and a responsibility to help in educating their congregation. And it is a matter they should be preaching from the pulpit. Instead of the concept to say that God wants you to be, doesn't want you to be sick. He wants you to be rich. He wants you to be there. And I say it's complete nonsense.
I don't know who is watching, but again, look straight into this camera. What I'm hearing you saying is that we don't only need strong churches in Ghana, but we also need strong society.
That is correct.
And that an issue of national interest must become a household concept. Please talk to my viewers. We may not know who is watching. And
all right, now I am addressing you, pastors, church leaders, and the rest. You are the ones I am addressing. I'm a former president of the Bible Society of Ghana. I'm also chairman of the trustees of the Accra Church. I have been even chairman of the Accra Church.
That's the president's church.
Yes, is correct. And I am talking to you for you to appreciate that some of the messages that is coming from the pulpit is not biblical, and it's not even in the interest of our country. That indeed you are expected. You see that God was always chastising the prophets. The Pharisees were under attack continuously by God. Why? Because they were selfish. They were looking at their own self-interest instead of things of God. And so I'm pleading with you at the things of God and appreciate that a peaceful society, a prosperous society, a society which is clean and decent, which means that there will be what? Less sicknesses, less diseases, water will not be polluted, people will drink what? Water from the tap instead of having to go and buy sachet water because the tap water is polluted. These things help a society, a healthy society. The Latin will say mens sana corpore sano, a healthy mind and a healthy what? Body. That we need to re-look at our own society, and I pray that the pulpit is a powerful tool in the hand of you men of God.
Uncle Sam,
with the right message.
Just in a second, we are getting ready for 2020 general elections. The various political parties are working on their manifestos. Where should be the place of national interest in 2020 general elections?
It should be centerpiece. It should be the centerpiece for them to say that this is where we want this country to be at this period and that period. Sometimes I say that make it 5 years. Everybody will assume he's going to be alive, right? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, so that the younger ones also will know that they look at it from that angle and say, where do we want this nation to be? We want it to be the country that I believe God intended it to be. You know something? Ghana is a latitude 0. Between Ghana and the equator, there's no other country in between us. So we are in the center of the world. Where will God put you in the center of the world? That is unique. So it means you to be a light
to the nations. Thank you, viewers. I have been in conversation with lawyer Sam Okudzeto, a man of many parts. A former member of parliament. He is a former president, Ghana Bar Association. At the moment, he is a member of Council of State And in this conversation, we have been discussing the place of national interest in a nation building, and the place that all of us, professional bodies, academic institutions, faith-based organizations, the role that we must all play. This is the only country we have, and we must build it together. This is what is next on GTV, the authentic and trusted voice of Ghana. My name is Kwabena Opuni-Frimpong. Thank you for being with us. We'll come your way next week. God bless our homeland Ghana and make this great nation even greater and stronger. God bless you for being with us.
I want to see.
Skibidi